All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a look at Adani Enterprises, or AEL for short. Now, this isn't going to be your standard company breakdown. See, AEL is something else entirely. It's like a business building machine, and we're going to use its latest results to show you exactly how this thing works, and more importantly, how it's performing. So if you really want to get what Adani Enterprises is all about, you have to understand this one key idea. It's an infrastructure incubator. It's better to think of it not as just one company, but as a factory that builds other massive businesses. Their whole game plan is to spot opportunities, build these huge, nation-building projects from the ground up, and then scale them. And once a business is big enough and strong enough to stand on its own, they spin it off as its own separate listed company. It's literally a factory for creating infrastructure giants. Okay, so that leads to the really big question, right? How do you actually grade a company that's a business builder? Well, AREL just dropped its latest numbers for the first quarter of fiscal year 26, and believe me, the results tell a really fascinating story. So let's dive in. When you really look at these Q1 results, what you see is a tale of two completely different businesses all living under one roof. At first glance, the numbers point you in one direction. But, once you start digging just a little bit, a whole other story comes out. It's kind of a puzzle, really. So let's piece it together. So looking at the top line numbers, you'd probably think, looks like a tough quarter. Their consolidated EBITDA, that's a key measure of how profitable a company is. It actually dropped 12% compared to this time last year. It went from 4,300 crore rupees down to just under 3,800 crore. And yeah, a dip like that, it's definitely going to raise some eyebrows. But, and this is a big but, that number doesn't tell you the whole story. Not even close. Because it completely hides what's happening with the company's real engine. And here it is. This is the answer to that puzzle we were talking about. Check this out. The new businesses, the ones still being built inside the incubator, they brought in a whopping 74% of the total earnings. So that dip we saw, that all came from the older, more established businesses, which can be affected by market swings. The real growth, the very heart of their strategy, is firing on all cylinders inside that incubator. And look, this isn't just us spinning a narrative. The chairman of the group, Gautam Adani himself, pointed to this exact thing. He said the performance shows the strength and scalability of their model. So let's go see that strength in action. Let's take a look at which of these incubating businesses is really leading the pack. Okay, so the absolute star of the show this quarter, no question, it was the airports business. This is like a textbook example of what they're trying to do. An incubating business that's really hitting its stride and becoming a huge value driver. I mean, just get a load of this number. The airports business posted an absolutely incredible 61% year-on-year growth in earnings. A 61% jump, that is exactly the kind of explosive growth this whole incubator model is built to create. And this isn't just some number on a spreadsheet. It's being driven by real-world activity. You can see it right here. Passenger traffic was way up. They handled over 23 million people in just one quarter. Air traffic movements were up. Cargo volumes saw a nice, healthy increase too. It's pretty simple, really. More planes, more people, and more stuff moving through their airports. All right, so moving on from airports, there's another huge bet that Adani Enterprises is making inside its incubator: green energy. They're doing this through a subsidiary called Adani New Industries, or ANIL. And the goal is massive: to build a complete end-to-end green hydrogen ecosystem. So what's the plan? How are they going to pull this off? Well, the strategy is actually pretty straightforward when you break it down. First, they're making all their own solar parts, right from the raw materials like ingots and wafers all the way to the finished solar panels. Second, they're building their own massive wind turbines. And the third step, the big one, is to use all that clean energy they're generating themselves to produce green hydrogen at a super low cost. It's all about owning the entire process from start to finish. And again, this isn't some far-off dream. They are hitting major milestones as we speak. Just in this last quarter, they got India's first green hydrogen pilot plant up and running, they landed their first outside order for a new wind turbine model, and they've already supplied over 1 gigawatt of their biggest, most powerful turbines. This green future, it's being built right now. So, we've talked about the current stars of the show, but a good incubator is always about what's coming up next in the pipeline. So, what's about to graduate from this Adani factory? What are the next big assets that are getting ready to be switched on? Well, according to the company, there are several huge projects that are on track to become operational this fiscal year. And we're not talking small projects here. We're talking about the brand new Navi Mumbai International Airport, a massive copper plant, and the Ganga Expressway. Each one of these is a behemoth of a business in its own right, and they're all just about ready to start adding to the bottom line. So really, this brings us back to the main point, the core idea of this whole explainer. Adani Enterprises is really two businesses in one. On one side, you've got the established businesses. They provide stability, sure, but they can get knocked around by market volatility. But on the other side, you have the real powerhouse, the incubating businesses, like airports, green hydrogen, and roads. That's the growth engine that's creating the company's future value. You see, this incubator model is a never-ending cycle, right? You build, you mature, and you launch. So as these new giants, the Navi Mumbai Airport, the copper plant, get ready to leave the factory, it just leaves you with one final, really interesting question. What on earth is this giant infrastructure factory going to build next?